Hi there, so I thought I'd put together a really quick tutorial video on using flow splines in your volume modeling workflow. What a flow spline is it is a spline that guides the flow of your topology um, that you input into the remesh. And so over here I have these, the baked down versions of the model through the process that I went through. And so this is the topology without flow splines. This is with flow splines. This is after extruding it in and a little bit of cleanup. And then over here I beveled it. And I included this beveled one just because I wanted to really quickly show the settings that I used on the bevel to kind of prevent too much distortion, at least in this case. And so I'm going to go ahead and walk you through a little bit of how I did this. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide all of this down here. There we go. Alright, so up here then I have the remesh just the way it is with the model. And so the way to use flow splines is you need to create a spline. And so down here I have a spline mask I made earlier, which is just two circles. And let me see, I'm going to pull them forward so we can see them. And so without the spline mask on, we can see here I have one circle up here and a circle down here. And I made the upper circle wider on the X scale, so that way it'll control how much the curvature of the smile is up here. So if I were to turn this down, you can see the corners grow up higher, and further out it becomes flatter. And then once I have that, the thing about flow splines is that they need to be um, editable in order to be able to be used in the remesh flow splines. And so I'm going to really quickly, like for example on the bottom of this foot, if I wanted to paint this in to be like the sole of the shoe, I can tell here that this is flowing diagonally, and I'm not going to be able to get a good loop around that in order to get like a nice flat sole of the shoe. And so what I can do is I can make a really quick circle, and I'm going to just squeeze it in a little on the X coordinate so I get this oval, and then maybe scale it down a little further. There we go. Okay. So one thing is I can, since my model is symmetrical, right? In the remesher, I can tell it to give me symmetry on the X, and whatever I do to the positive side will flow over to the negative side. And so if I were to take this is my sole spline, and place it into down here in the flow spline, we can see we're getting this this no symbol, this do not symbol. And in order to make it possible to put it in there, I have to hit C and make it editable. And then now I'm allowed to drag it into here. Once I do, we can see the remesh recalculates, and the flow of the topology has now updated to follow this line. If for some reason you're not getting the desired result from that, like say for example, honestly that's still not bad. You can try and pull it closer, or move it wherever you would like it to be, and that should usually work. In some cases it might be too low or not close enough, and you'll need to make adjustments accordingly. And so now we've got that sole of the shoe. And so if I wanted to make this smile work here in the front, I have to right click and say current state to object in this case. If I were to just do a connect objects or connect objects and delete, here I'll do a connect objects to see what happens here. So with the spline mask, you see we have this weird like twisting and knotting of the geometry, and so that's not really going to work in this case. So I do need to right click and current state to object, and that will give us a spline that works. So I'm going to just throw that in backup, close it up. There we go. And so now if I want this to apply to my remesh, once again we go to remesh, throw that in, give it a minute to calculate, and see the result. And so in this case, I think I'd probably want the smile to be pulled closer to the topology and see if the result is a little different. There we go, that works a little better. And so if we think about it, what's happening is that the spline is being projected onto the surface of our object. And so if there's no like curvature to this, it might project a little bit weird due to perspective, in that it'll kind of shrink in a little. So if I were to pull this much further away, we can see here we're getting some weird results. And so in this case I have to pull it closer and almost through the model a little bit, so that I can get those corners that I want of the smile there. And then what I did for the eye there was just a really quick circle, move it up, scale it down, pull it forward, even smaller. There we go. Move it up a little. And then, let's see, I'm going to hit C, and let's see how this looks. This is the eye. And go to remesh, place that in there, let's see what we get. It's not so bad. It's actually pretty good. I might rotate it just a little bit, since we have a little bit of a slant to this geometry. Yeah, that looks better. Cool. So now we have the eye cut out, we have the mouth shape cut out, and this is more for like, at least especially with the eye and the mouth here, that's if I want to have my topology flow better with a shape that I don't want to look soft in like using the volume modeling workflow, and this way I can extrude it and it will have hard edges. Cool, so we've got that, and now I can say these are my flow splines. I'm going to take those and just organize that a little bit. And then I am going to now say current state to object on this. So right click, current state to object, and I can throw this in the backup here. And so this is, you know, my character. I can throw these in the backup as well. There we go. And so now that we've got the character, and we had symmetry turned on, so it seemed to do a pretty good job. I'm going to double check with NA, see that, yeah, everything looks good. In the case of my character earlier, I was getting a little bit of like tearing down the middle of the mouth. And all you would need to do in that case is to just run optimize. And if for some reason you're still getting that tearing with optimize, select the points, probably from the inside of the model. And there we go, from the inside of the model, and then weld them together if they're like side by side. But in this case it seems fine, so I'm gonna just leave that way. And time to go to the polygon mode, UL, I'm gonna, let's say edge mode, there we go, that works better. In this case I'm gonna use UM, that is the path selection tool, and so I can just draw my path and hold down shift when I need to add to the selection. Cool. I'm going to go UF for the fill tool, switches me over to polygon mode, and I can just hold down control and extrude that in a little bit. If I wanted, I could right click and say fit circle and make it a perfect circle. Just depends on what you prefer. I think I'm going to probably fit circle mine. Okay, so E, control drag in. Now the thing to know about the fit circle, at least in this case the way that I'm using it here, is so right click fit circle, my settings for that over here, I have projectile surface checked on, and then just hit apply there, and that will that'll work out in favor. There we go. Okay, so E, control drag it in a little bit. Seems to look fine. Go back to my edge mode, UF to fill in the mouth now, and then E, control drag that in, and let's take a look at that. Doesn't look bad. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, if for some reason you were getting a little bit of like weird like shading errors happening near like the curvature at the top of the mouth because the curvature is too steep, you can always just select the polygons here in the back and then right click flatten, and you just flatten it until it looks better. And so this would completely flatten it out, and so you can tone down the curvature of the back of the mouth there if you'd like. Okay, so we've got that going on, and then I was going to really quickly show the bevel settings that I use to bevel the stuff going on with the eye over here. And so edge mode, and then I guess it's fine. I was like, I don't think we really need to bevel the inside of the mouth here. So I'd hold down Control and try and deselect those. There we go. So maybe just the outside ones. And then MS. And so the default settings, right, are to have the default mitering here. And so if I switch it to uniform, it doesn't add like this extra geometry there at the edges there. And then I would turn on Fong break rounding, and this probably could be a lot smaller. You could leave it at like 0 subdivisions if you wanted to just catch the light a little bit, or you can add maybe 1 for a little bit of rounding, just that way you don't make the topology too heavy if you're going to take this into Unity. Yeah, so now we have the flow of the splines working pretty good. I might take this loop right here, UF, and say fit to circle again, and just hit apply there. Not so bad. Yeah, there we go. Now we got a character. Alrighty. If you have any questions, you can always message me on Slack. For now, have a beautiful day.